Need to remember doing the introduction. Need to record it. Record.
I might have to leave in between.
So it's recorded already.
Is it recording?
Yep.
Hello.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's been a bit manic. I can't believe it's today. When I got back
Right.
from the weekend, I was like, oh my god, it's Monday.
Oh, Rachel's in. Should we leave her out for a bit?
Yeah, Pri's just emailed saying, here's my slides.
Okay.
Yeah, but you haven't...
Before the event.
If you're able to add to your slide deck, that'd be appreciated. So I don't need to screen share, but she hasn't sent them to me. And she's not, like I said, she's not emailed me back all day, so I was a bit worried that she will.
Oh. Come back, Vicky. Where have you gone?
Sorry, I clicked on leave by accident.
Where have you gone? Where have you gone?
She's just sent them. Why? I'm not really too sure. Why she doesn't want to share her screen? Right, upload.
Can you add them in quickly? Was that a bit?
Yeah, I'm just doing it now.
Okay. Nothing like a bit of last minute pressure.
She's got loads as well. Hang on. Right. We've
I
got
met
an
other
hour.
people in and say hello.
Yeah. I'll just do this a sec in the background.
Hello, everybody. Afternoon.
Hello. What?
Hi.
How are you all?
Yeah, well,
Good. Thanks very much again for contributing today. Really nice that we could do one focus on transitions and also have some contributors up in Scotland as well. So it's really great. I think we're just picking the final.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just quickly
slides.
adding slides into the background. Sorry. I think they're there now, Rachel, so you should be able to hopefully see them on your... Would you, Carolyn and Rachel, would you prefer to share your own screens and click through rather than telling us to click through every time? Yeah. Okay, perfect. We have got them just in case, but...
oh, sorry, are you suggesting, no, you're going to give us the slides. We're not uploading separately. We're working from yours? Yeah.
It's up to you, whatever you'd prefer. We've got a copy or you can share your own screen. So it's whatever you find easier.
Yep. Sorry, I do that. Only that I'm thinking, as soon as I get into a meeting where I have to get my own up, something always seems to go wrong.
You know what? I don't think I can make you presenters either. I don't know why. It's not. So I think
I just made you presenters.
Oh, have you done it? Oh, you've done it already.
I've just done it. If you want to do that, but we do have the slides already. So
I think if you've got them on rather than spending time me uploading, is that okay with you, Rachel?
That's fine. Yes,
Wolford?
I'm gonna. Yes, I'm gonna.
Two Rachels. What are we doing here?
Oh, sorry, two Rachels.
It's right. I had a practice earlier, so I'm happy. I think mine are ready to go. But
hand over to you,
if we get stuck. Yeah. that all right? Carolyn, you doing yours and I'll do mine. Oh, are you leaving you're letting them do yours, aren't they?
Let me just see. Can I do a quick try here to see if I can, oh, just a second. Let me get rid of this. Sorry.
That's why we've all come in a bit early so we can do this, just to check it's all going to work.
What's that? That's that. Okay. Let me just call it up. Oops. Have I got,
Hi, Natalie. We're just testing our screens a second before we start. So we're just in the background, just checking we can all share our screens and everything. Can you see pre-slides, Rachel? Now I've added them in.
I'll just have a look.
okay.
Yes, I can, yeah. That's great, yeah.
Okay, if I.
She has said she might be a couple of minutes late because she's been out all day and she's just literally got through the door. So
that would help. I turn my microphone on, speak to you, Victoria, wouldn't it then?
Yeah. I just see you speaking and I didn't know if you knew you were on mute or not.
Carolyn, if it's helpful, I've got your slides up, so I'm happy to kind of.
No, I've gone into slideshow. Oops, that going to let me from the beginning. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
I don't want to leave. No. Okay, I'll stop sharing.
No, it has worked.
All right. Then.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
Can I just check mine's working? Is that all right?
Mm.
Yep. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Yep. Perfect.
Yep. Perfect.
Thank you, Rachel. Right, I'm going to share my screen now just for the opening, and then I will hand over to you, Carolyn, for your slides.
Am I just starting?
Rachel's just going to start in a second.
Yep. Right. Okay.
Oops, not sure is it. One minute. I'm sure it's going to be on the slideshow.
It was coming up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the right mode?
Yep.
Okay, that's all right then. I can see some pens and it's the bottom. That must be my presenter mode. Right, thank you everybody who's joined so far. I think we've got a few more people to come along, so we'll just have a few more minutes to let them in, if that's okay. But if you have joined, thank you very much for attending today. And if you're happy, if you could just introduce yourself in the chat, just so everybody knows who's here, that would be great.
I've just called in those who are missing, so requested to join. So hopefully in the next minute they'll be here.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Reg. Brilliant. Thanks, everybody, for introducing yourselves. Let me know, Vicky, when you think we should make a start.
I think start now because Pri did say she might be a couple of minutes late, so she has literally just emailed me. So I think I'll carry on ringing people in, and then, but it's being recorded anyway, so people can catch up if they miss the first minute or two, can't they?
Okay, perfect, great. Okay, well, thank you everybody for coming today. We really appreciate your time. I know a lot of you are coming straight after school and teaching, so we appreciate you coming, and we hope this will be a really useful session for you as well. Just a couple of things before we start. Just to let you know that we are recording this session, and we'll make the slides and the video recording available on our website afterwards. So I hope that's okay for everybody who's involved. And if you do have a question and you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand, just so then the presenter knows that you'd like to ask a question. But you may also like to put something in the chat as well, and we'll also monitor the chat to make sure we pick up anything there as well. Well, I think we're scheduled to finish at 5 o'clock, so we're going to try and stick to that time because we know that how precious every time is. So we've got quite a lot to cover, so we will start very shortly and get going. Should we move to the next slide, Vicky? Yeah. Brilliant. So today's focus, as you know, this is our Thriving Lives webinar series. So I think this is probably our fifth webinar. Our sixth webinar. Brilliant. Which is aligned to the Thriving Lives Toolkit for schools, hosted by the Skip Alliance. So each of our webinars has been focused on a different part of the toolkit, and we're delighted today. This one is focusing on transition, which is, I believe, principle 4, transitions effective. So we're really delighted today to welcome 3 contributors who are going to be talking about this aspect of supporting service children or young people from armed forces families. Could I ask you all who's presenting today, if I could ask you to just say a hello and tell us a little more about yourselves, if that's okay. If we start with Carolyn.
Hello, Carolyn MacLeod, and I'm National Education and Transitions Officer in Scotland. I will now be able to delete a few bits from my slides because I was planning to introduce myself in the slides. But I work nationally for the Directors of Education and with local authorities and schools. Thanks.
Thanks, Carolyn. Is Pri here?
I think she's on her way, so I think she can do a little intro when she starts in a bit, I think.
Okay, great. If we can move over to yourself, Rachel, if that's okay.
Yep, of course it is. Good afternoon, folks. I'm Rachel Wolford. I'm head teacher at Kinloss Primary School in Murray. For those of you who don't know, it's North Scotland. It's not a very sunny day today, so I hope you've got a nice day with you. We have a considerable amount of military children. It varies between 55 and 60% at any one time. We are right beside 39 Engineer Regiment, and our RAF Lossiemouth is not very far away as well. So we have a fantastic mix of children from the Army and from the RAF as well. So looking forward to chatting today, folks.
Lovely, thank you, Rachel. And I believe Pri has just joined. Pri, just sorry to put you on the spot, but
Hi, Rachel.
I wonder if you would be happy just to say hello a little bit about yourself as one of our contributors today.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Chard, and I lead the Dandelion project for Murray. So kind of going off from what Rachel just said, it's looking strategically across the region to see how our schools are supporting their children and young people from forces families. So it's ensuring that they have the right resources, it's supporting with CPD, and it's just really strengthening connections and partnerships between schools with military bases as well, but also other local and regional support. So I look forward to sharing a bit more about how we're supporting transition.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for those welcomes. So we will move swiftly over to the presentations now, if that's okay, because we've got lots of really interesting detail to cover in the next hour. So we will be starting with Carolyn. So if I stop sharing my screen now, and then Carolyn will talk a bit more about her work. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you, Carolyn. We can see your screen now. Hopefully you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. I seem to have a double screen in front of me. Oops. Sorry. I've stopped sharing it?
Yes, it has stopped sharing, yes.
I did mention this often happens. Gosh, okay.
One of the joys of hosting webinars.
It is. Here we'll go again. Let's see if I can go back to my window. Lives Toolkit. No, it's completely gone off the page now. Well, I apologize for that. Let's see if we can do this.
If not,
You want me
Carolyn,
to
we can
share?
share. I was going to say we can if it's easier.
Why don't we just go with that? Because I don't want to spend any more time trying to do this, if that's all right.
Yeah, I will. If you just give me the nod,
Yeah.
Carolyn, when you would like me to
Okay.
move
All right.
on to the next slide.
Thank you. Apologies for that. We even tested it and it was working, but there you go. That's what happens. Thank you. I hope my comments today may be helpful to provide a little background context and perhaps introduction to the work that we're doing in Scotland, especially around transitions. An important place to start is by acknowledging the sequence of presentations today, and I'm pleased to present with Pri and Rachel, such valued colleagues. It's important that we move from a look at the wider landscape of our devolved nation into the local authority space, that geographical location with statutory responsibility and oversight for the education provided in their schools and settings, then to the school and its community, which is the most important. This is where families, children, and young people develop a relationship of trust, respect, knowledge, and understanding, where families, children, and young people are expected and recognized as partners in the learning journey. The next slide, please. Oops, no, we're back one slide if you could. Yeah, that one, please. Thank you. And please excuse the map. You'll know that an accurate map in an accurate map, the Shetland Islands would not even appear or could be in a frame added to the map as they're miles away to the northeast. And also the land formation of Scotland should be at a bit of an angle, leaning to the northwest, but this is what we've got. I hope it looks familiar to you. A few headlines to set the Scottish context. There are 32 local authorities. All have signed the Armed Forces Covenant and acknowledge that there are armed forces families, children, and young people in their authority. The Director of Education within each local authority is part of the ADES network, which is the arena within which I work. And for awareness, there are a number of different titles for our directors who are responsible for the education in their schools and settings. It all depends on the local authority. As the National Education and Transitions Officer, I'm funded by the Scottish Government. I work closely with an ADES professional advisor. And report directly to the ADES General Secretary, and am accountable to the ADES Executive. All local authorities have or are further developing collaboration across their authorities with colleagues in health, education, and housing, and in partnership with the MOD. There are two different national networks that I facilitate. One is the Armed Forces Families Lead Officers. There's one lead officer in each of the 32 authorities. We meet quarterly and maintain regular communication. The officers can cascade information to all of their head teachers, schools, and settings, provide guidance, engage with colleagues, and collaborate on various developments. They can also troubleshoot when issues arrive and work with families, schools, and the local authority to address. The other network group are the Head Teachers Forum, and this is a network of professionals who meet quarterly, provide support, often mentoring for each other, raise issues of concern and celebration, share resources, and work across early learning and childcare settings, primary and secondary schools. And I'm very pleased that Rachel's here to present a picture of good practice with a focus on transitions. One of the key national drivers for our work is around additional support for learning and feeding into the government's action plan. The MOD drivers are the Armed Forces Covenant legislation, the Living in Our Shoes Revisited, and the Armed Forces Family Strategy, all that touch on transition and the importance of that. Regarding data, with the permission of each Director of Education, I collect with the Armed Forces Indicator the data yearly from the local authorities who own the information. There are over 13,000 Armed Forces children and young people in our schools and settings, yet we know this is a significant underrepresentation of the actual numbers. Families are encouraged to identify themselves to their children's settings or school, but it is optional. 1% of pupils in Scotland are members of the Armed Forces community. 12 local authorities have military bases, regular and reserve, within their boundaries. Over 50% of our schools have an Armed Forces child or young person on their roll. 3% of schools have military housing in their catchment areas. As far as our state schools, they are the responsibility of the local authority where they're located. There are various names that will be used for these state schools that may be different from the other devolved nations. For example, we use high school, secondary school, and academy mean the same type of state school. For interest, there's only one grant-aided school in Scotland, along with a number of independent and public schools. And Queen Victoria School, the only MOD school in the UK, is also located in Scotland. The next slide, please. This is an image of the Scottish context, and I'm sure the headings may be similar to those in other devolved nations. We have policies and guidance. We have priorities and drivers, and I've mentioned just some of them to you. We have the legislation, and that's where the additional support sits. And we have professional support. It's important to note that ASN, additional support needs, is not the same as SEND, special education needs and disability, nor is it the same as ALN nor SEN. There are limited numbers of special schools in Scotland, and they are not available in all local authorities. In Scotland, we share resources because we're working collaboratively, often in partnership, to address the needs of children and young people. There are a range of free professional support and learning opportunities and resources available for educators. On Education Scotland's National Improvement Hub, on My Forces Children's Education ADES website, and the local authority groups such as Moray Council, and I'm pleased that Pri will make her presentation shortly. The next slide, please. As many of you will know, in Scotland, additional support needs are broadly defined, and this includes those which might impact on children from Armed Forces families, such as transitions, interrupted learning, and dealing with separation and loss. Additional support needs is the standard terminology used in Scotland when children and young people need more or different support to what is normally provided in schools or early learning and childcare settings to children of their same age. As a reminder, there is a limited number of special schools in Scotland and not available in all local authorities. Section 15 of the Standards in Scotland School Act 2000 introduced a presumption that all children will be educated in a mainstream school. This may present a very different experience for a child or young person transitioning to Scotland and those moving away to a new location. The next slide, please. In addressing the issue of transitions, I think it's important to take a look at self-evaluation and evaluation of provision. And hopefully this image by Angus Maguire titled Equality and Equity will help us. This is not a new concept, but long established and a concept absolutely ingrained in the Scottish education system. It started in 1990, underpinned by the Standards in Scotland Schools Education Act of 2000. There is a statutory obligation on schools and authorities to have improvement plans or a system of improvement, and that was then backed by changes in Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Education, who introduced How Good is Our School, a series of indicators. And now, critically important, schools are inspected on their self-evaluation. This is the core of the inspection. How well does the school know itself? The other ingredient in this Education Act that came into force in 2016 that further developed the legal basis of school improvement and the format for the improvement plans with a degree of rigor. So against that background, any other evaluation tool or evaluation method is not unwelcomed, but it has to be viewed as no more than a tool that's available. The decision to use a particular evaluation tool has to be compatible with the organizational background of the school, and that's the decision for the head teacher. It is not external funders who decide, and it's not even for education authorities to decide. It's that freedom of accountability that has to rest with the head teacher and the head teacher alone. When the inspectorate comes to inspect the school, the head teacher must be able to defend the position taken, the conscious decision that that's the approach they want to use. The other aspect to be aware of has to do with data. And if data is requested about how well the resource or a toolkit works, that is a reasonable and useful bit of information to share, and that can go directly from the school. However, if the data relates to the nature of the school's provision, that data needs to be properly filtered through the authority with information vetted through the Freedom of Information Officer. The point being made is that to gain maximum access to Scottish schools and to ensure that additional burdens are not imposed on teachers, it's important not to be over-prescriptive on evaluation or any other methodology. Could I have the next slide, please? The structure that we have in place nationally works to provide the strategic oversight and complements the operational, tactical support provided to schools and settings for their families, children, and young people. The SAFE SG, the top, is the National Strategic Group. And if we look down the left side, ADES, the National Education and Transitions Officer, the network groups, Education Scotland and Skills Development, and the Scottish Skip Hub that has the potential to add value to this structure. On the right, we have research that's joined up nationally at the Centre for the Military Research, Education and Public Engagement that's found at Edinburgh Napier University, and SAFER, which is the Scottish Armed Forces Military Research Hub. Okay, and the next slide, please. The Scottish Armed Forces Education Support Group, SAFE-SG, which is made up of various stakeholders who have a vast amount of experience and who champion the needs of armed forces children and young people in education, is chaired by a Scottish Government officer from the Learning Directorate. The following comments are those used by the chair of the SAFE-SG. As a group, as well as looking for ways to celebrate the unique contributions and achievements of these young people, we look to identify key issues which create barriers to learning and work collaboratively to overcome them. We recognize that children and young people from armed forces families can experience a number of transitions to new schools from within and across the UK and overseas, and that there are a number of barriers to a successful transition. One of these being that countries all have different education systems and that the systems in place do not speak to each other. The SAFE-SG recently agreed to set up a subgroup to collaboratively co-produce a resource which will aid transitions, but more specifically the transitions of children and young people who are from armed forces families. There was a lot of interest in the subgroup, so alongside members of the main subgroup, we invited stakeholders who directly work with children and young people and their families. These included officers from the devolved administrations, MOD, Education Advisory Team, and key schools, primary and secondary, across the devolved nations. This work is progressing well, and the SAFE-SG anticipate a resource will be available early in the next academic year. And my final slide, please. The final bit of information about transitions that I want to mention has to do with the research project I have been working on with an ADES colleague in partnership with the Centre for Military Research, Education and Public Engagement at Edinburgh Napier University. We expect that the report will be available before the next academic year, and I know that this report will be of interest. Although the information is weighted towards Scotland, there is much of UK-wide relevance. And that's my presentation. I want to thank Rachel and Victoria for inviting me. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. That's a really helpful kind of overview of the context and really, really useful. So thank you very much for that. I think it's over to you next to talk a bit more about, as Carolyn's saying, the kind of local authority perspective and the work you've been doing on the Moray project, if that's the Dandelion project, sorry, if that sounds okay. Would you like do you want to share your slides? Are you happy for me to click through for you like I've done?
I'm happy for you to share them
Carolyn?
if that's all right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I can actually navigate myself. I'm just going to.
Oh, great.
Oh,
okay.
I can. Perfect. There we go.
Brilliant.
Thank you for that.
Pri.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you, Carolyn, and following on from you, and also thank you to the Skip Alliance team for the invitation to speak today. It's great to be in this space with you all, and I'm looking forward to sharing a bit more about the Dandelion project. So a little bit about me. My name's Pri, and I'm currently on secondment to lead this project across Moray Council, and my background is in primary teaching, and I've had experience of teaching in England and in Scotland, and I'm also part of an armed forces family myself. So a bit of an overview about what I'll be covering today in 10 minutes. I'm going to go through what the Dandelion project is, why transitions matter in Moray, building upon what Carolyn's mentioned, some key developments, spotlighting some of our resources, talking about our next steps as a region, and then it'll be handing it over to Rachel to talk about what's happening in her school. So a little bit about the Dandelion project. It's funded by the Armed Forces Covenant Fund Trust, and it's led by Moray Council in partnership with RAF Lossiemouth and 39 Engineer Regiment at Kinloss Barracks. The key driver for it was the expansion of RAF Lossiemouth with the new aircraft, the Wedgetail, arriving, and with that there'll be more forces families coming to the area. So it's ensuring that there was consistency across the region. I'll touch upon this a little bit later, but we have families not within the usual SFA kind of areas, the usual families accommodation. People are buying privately, so it means that our families are actually spread out quite far across the region. So it's ensuring that all schools, no matter how many forces families they have, that support is consistent and we are supporting at that right time. So a little bit about the journey so far. So it started.
Sorry, Pri, it's not. The
Hi.
slides aren't moving for us. I don't.
Oh,
I,
are they
I
not?
think you. No, I think you might be clicking them, but I don't think they're moving.
Oh, sorry. Are they moving now? No.
No.
Rachel, can you be my mover, please? Thank you. So that was just the overview. So I've kind of gone through that. Next slide, please, Rachel.
I don't know if you can see our screen. I think maybe.
I don't think.
Oh,
there we go. There we go. I've synced it back to you. Sorry, everybody. That was just the overview of what the Dandelion project is. Rachel, next, please. Thank you. So the Dandelion project began in October 2023. So when I was appointed, that's when the project came to life. So it was all about taking it from a business case to reality. So it started with a discovery phase, so scoping opportunities, areas where we could improve, but also acknowledging the strengths that we had. And there was a lot of brilliant practice across our schools. So it was then looking at how to strengthen and build relationships across schools, between the council itself, but also with our military bases, local support and also regional support. So we've used a service design approach, also using a project management approach to really ensure that we're responding to needs, testing early ideas and adapting based on feedback. So a lot of iterative cycles of getting feedback and putting resources out. So whether it was the website, deployment formal school resources, everything has been co-created and will be co-created, piloted and refined collaboratively. So it's not, the Dandelion project isn't just creating resources and churning them out, it's very much for the need of our area. As we move into the next phase, the focus is on embedding and sustaining. So we've already thinking ahead, how do we ensure that the support continues, these resources are being used even 5 or 10 years from now. Thank you, Rachel. Next slide. So Moray is home to around 1,650 military connected children and young people. As mentioned before, while many may live in service families accommodation, a growing number live in privately owned homes, meaning they're spread across the authority and not just near the bases. So there are only 4 schools in Moray that don't have an armed forces footprint, so it's essential that every school is equipped and not just a few. So it's ensuring that there's that wide consistency in awareness, but also support when and if the support is needed. Thank you, Rachel. So through the Dandelion project, I've established lots of different networks, and there's a bit of a flow chart here, and it's not necessarily top down or bottom up. It kind of goes both ways as well, which is really, really great to hear different perspectives and take all those perspectives to shape what is currently being put out by the project. So let's start with the bottom. So I say bottom, but it could also be the top, depending on what we're doing. The children and families, it's really ensuring that their perspectives are continuously heard at different phases of what the project's doing, and not just with the project, just in general. So it's really hearing their views on what's working well, what's not, and what they're finding really useful. And I tend to get those views from the schools, but also from our military families, but also popping along to coffee mornings and afternoons. The next thing is MAFAN, so that's Murray's Armed Forces Advocate Network. That's a new network that I've created with any staff member in a school who might be the advocate or the champion for their forces families. And it's a really great opportunity for us to get together, hear what's working well, share good practices, but also be quite solution focused. So people can come to that network with any challenges and we can kind of solve them together. And moving on to the next one, that's Murray's Armed Forces Education Subgroup, and that's formed of head teachers, senior leaders to talk more about strategic direction or what's happening in the school, anything that needs to be brought to my attention to maybe pass on elsewhere within the local authority to improve things for our families. And all of those perspectives are taken to Murray's Armed Forces Covenant Partnership Group, where it's an action-based group, and we have key partners from healthcare, housing and education. And all of this talking and all of this collaboration partnership work really is supporting transition for our families coming in and out of Murray. Some other network groups just at the bottom there, so more kind of national work. Carolyn mentioned, I think, all of them. So Murray is privileged to be part of the Safe ESG Transitions Working Group, working on that transitions document. Also delighted to be part of the Skip Alliance Scotland Hub, and also I am the AFLO for Murray, so it's great to work with Carolyn and other local authorities. Thank you, Rachel. So one example of collaborative approach is our resource hub on our Murray Council website. So this has a wealth of information. It's almost signposting to other established information points as well. For example, ADES, Forces Children's Education. So I've put a link in the chat if you want to have a look at it. And it's something that's also alleviating workload for schools. So by having this hub, schools are able to link this onto their website. So when families are scoping what their next venture might be, if they're coming to Murray, they're able to see that support right there and see how the education system works in Scotland, but also what Murray's learning offer is as well. And there's a frequently asked questions section as well, with lots of common queries, and it just helps us to have a consistent approach when answering those as well. And the next resource is our is the campaign about encouraging families to let schools know that they are armed forces families, because obviously in Scotland things are a little bit different, and we don't want them to be unidentified because there's so much support available, and it's letting us know about key transitions, which will take me on to my next point in a minute. But if you wanted to have a look at this resource that I've got on the screen here, that's in the Dandelion Project's recent magazine, and it's all about why it's really important to let your school know that you're a forces family, and what benefits come with that as well. So the next one touches upon deployment, but it's more about just any change that military families might be experiencing. So this is an example of a collaborative approach, and it's our deployment form. I'm just going to go straight to the next slide, but if you'd like to see any of that information about deployment support, that's also in the magazine as well, which is on the links that I've popped into the chat. So we discover that families don't often inform schools about upcoming deployments, and that's not because they don't want to, it's just life gets so busy. When you know your serving person's about to deploy, there's a lot happening. So it might be one of the last things that they do mention. So by having this form, it's a form that has been consulted with and co-created by schools and our military bases. It's ensuring that there's just one form in circulation in Murray, and there's lots of different boxes for families to declare any information that they think might be useful, but it also means that families that might have a child in more than one school don't have to complete different forms. So it's keeping it user-friendly but also supportive. So if you wanted to have a look at that form, it's also part of the link tree as well, so you can have a look. And one thing that a family member did mention is that they love the fact that there was a box to type in any strategies that worked on a previous deployment. So they're able to share with schools something that did work, but also any triggers for what's not supportive as well. And another family mentioned that they found it really useful because they had never experienced a deployment with a child before, and they didn't realise actually that it'd be really useful for a school to find out that the serving parent was deployed. So that form kind of navigates a family through information that might be useful for a school, and the second page has an additional guidance for parents about why we collect this data and why it's really useful to know. So this is just a page with lots of different resources that the Dandelion project is currently working on or has worked on. So the key ones that I wanted to draw to your attention was at the bottom left, which is 6 speedy successes. That's just in the final phase before it's going to go live. And it's basically just a really short document with speedy ways, actionable steps that schools can take to enhance their support for military pupils. Also, the videos there, they are going to be embedded into our LMS. So I'm currently creating some training modules for schools. They're really short, bite-sized modules going through various elements of how to enhance support, and 2 of them will be featuring pupil voices about deployment and transition. Thank you, Rachel. So just before I pass on to Rachel, the Dandelion project is just halfway through. So there are a lot of things I say in the present tense because they haven't been completed yet. We're still on our mission. So resources will continue being co-created with practitioners, bases and schools. The focus is to move to long-term sustainability. So the next phase will be about making resources go live, training go live, piloting with schools about what's working well, but ensuring that sustainability. So what will this look like, I guess, more than a decade from now? Will it still be creating that impact? We're going to continue to listen and partner with our key stakeholders, and that's me for today. So if you want to get in contact, if you just wanted to chat about anything, please feel free to get in contact. And now I'm going to pass on to Rachel.
I just, before we, Rachel, as you're setting your slides up, just want to thank you, Pri. That's a really, really helpful overview of some wonderful, fantastic things you're doing for the community, and it's really, really brilliant all the stuff you're doing. So thank you for sharing that. I just want to check actually before we go on to our last presentation. I don't think there's been any questions or hands raised. Is that correct, Vicky? Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
Lovely. So thanks, Rachel. I'll hand over to you now, and then maybe there'll be a bit of time for wider questions at the end as well.
Yep, no problem. Do you want to do the slides? And I'm wondering if the take control button will allow me to move them on. What do you think?
Yeah, George, I can keep. I think here they are. Yeah, are you? See if you can. Yes, it says somebody else is in control, so hopefully you can move them on.
Is that? Can you see that? All right.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, fantastic. Okay, I think we've done a bit of an introduction. Yep, brilliant. There we go. Sorry, folks, I'm just going on a bit fast. I want to give you a little bit of an overview of kind of what the journey has been like at Kinloss for supporting transitions. I'm very grateful to all the work that Carolyn and Pri have done over the last few years. Carolyn was an absolute godsend as I joined Kinloss to kind of navigate my way into this very different world. I come from very much an RAF background, so kind of seeing the level of army transitions was quite interesting, I'll be honest. So I joined in January 2019, and we had our first inspection in October. Very different from, I think, the rest of the UK. They don't happen as often, but there was a very clear recognition from the inspectors about the proportion of children that we had from military families and the transition. COVID really got us to focus on our kind of online transitions, how we were supporting sharing of information with the families, new families coming up. And that really led on to me looking at how do we ensure that transition is actually the best it possibly can be, which coincided with doing my master's. And that was kind of the focus that I had on there, was how do we successfully implement educational transitions? And that really helped to form a lot of the work that we've done within the school, making sure it's very much a kind of an evidence and research-based approach. From that, we'd managed to get successful funding, which Priya's been great with, kind of sharing different funding opportunities, which at the time enabled us to be able to create different resources, which we were able to share across Murray. From that, we've done quite a lot of training with the NQTs across Murray and with our school staff as well, to make sure that there's that shared understanding of transition and deployment. And at the moment, we're looking at updating our transition policy and resources. So that's kind of a bit of the history of what we've been doing. We also work to kind of develop what the learning journeys look like, and those are the different colour slide pictures on the side there. But I thought it might be interesting for you to kind of have an understanding actually of what we look at. And regularly we look at how many schools the children have been to, and these are primary ones. So these are kind of 5-year-olds up to, I think it's year 6 in England. But the number of schools that the children have been to is quite phenomenal, which causes considerable social and emotional challenges, academic challenges, and there's a lot of loss around the children kind of coming in, not only to, you know, a new country, often new curriculum, meeting friends, so it can be really challenging. We've looked recently as well at how many children actually have been in our school since primary 1, and we only have 10 children left out of the 61 children who've been in our primary 7 actually still with us since primary 1. So we're looking at kind of 51 children coming in and out of that year group since primary 1. P4, we've got 59 learners have been in that cohort, and there's a lot of transition there as well. They haven't finished their academic journey, so I really dread to think how many of them we will have left. But I thought it would be interesting for you to see visually what that looks like. The greens are children who've come into the year group, and the oranges are children who've left. So there's a lot of coming and going, not just for the military children that we have coming in, but also for the local civilian children who experience an awful lot of loss around their friendships, and, you know, and that challenge that constantly we're welcoming new children in, and they do it brilliantly. Hannah's on the call, and I know she'll agree with me. They do absolutely brilliantly, but it's still a challenge for them. So, I don't know if that's come out properly or not, but as we were going through kind of looking at the masters, I did a lot of work on kind of the research, and Dr. Evelyn Bowes' statement there, Scotland schools can and should do more for forces kids, really struck me, that actually we can do more, we should be doing more, and as, you know, key educators for the children, it's our responsibility to make sure that they can access the learning, but also that their social and emotional needs are being met as well. So I'm not going to go through lots of the slides, will come out to you folks, but I just thought that was valuable. We also looked at John Hattie's work on the 250 influences on student achievement. We know that transitions has a significant impact on the children, and it's quite interesting to see, kind of, he says about moving schools has a negative, and so does parental military deployment. And when I contacted him of the organisation to find out, you know, was that what happens with 1 deployment or 2 deployments? Didn't get a firm answer on that one, and I think that impact significantly increases the more frequently the deployments have. And as we all work with military children, we know how much of an increase there's been on deployments. It's been phenomenal, the level of deployments that the children and the families have been experiencing. So one of the things that we talked about, especially when we've been doing training with our school staff and with the NQTs, was whose responsibility is it for transitions? Is it solely with the family, with the child, or on the school? So what we looked at was Galton's kind of 5 bridges of transition, to kind of make sure that we were hitting all of the different steps, making sure that we were being very holistic and really supportive of not just the child, the family, but everybody who was involved in those transitions, because we really wanted to get them right. And I think Mold's quote there about the transitions, even one broken thread unraveled will disrupt that child's learning journey. So as a school, we very much saw that actually transitions were the responsibility of everybody, the pupil, the parents, senior leadership, the class team, and the school community, to make sure that we were really welcoming for the children coming into us. So that's kind of the lens that we've looked at transition for, very much listening to the children, similar to what Pri and Carolyn have done with their research as well, hearing from the children, and some of their comments were really quite heartbreaking to actually hear that. And, you know, some of them getting used to it. And you think the amount of schools that some of these children have already been to, it's really difficult. So how do we support them? And that was what we were looking at as we moved through. Parental concerns were quite interesting, very much split into 2 different areas with transitions. One was around academic achievement and whether that was going to still continue to progress. And the other side of it was the social and emotional. So it's managing parents' expectations as well. And that can be really, really hard, especially when they come into Scotland. It's a very different educational system from the rest of the UK. There's different funding. So it makes it quite difficult and challenging. What we found with the class teachers, and we had quite a lot of discussions with them around what this looks like, how we can support them. And the most important thing for them was very much around that sharing of early information, making sure that they had time to kind of get to know the child, get prepared for them coming in, because it wasn't just transitions in we were looking at, it was transitions out as well. So we really worked with the staff team to make sure that that's a positive for everybody. And then finally, we were kind of looking at what does it look like for us as senior leaders, and that can be really quite challenging. And kind of we rated some of the information that we had from across Scotland, from the different leaders who got in touch around what the priorities were. And I was expecting transitions to be the biggest challenge that we as senior leaders face, but apparently it's more deployments which can cause such disruption as well. So we were looking at what the impact of that is, and then that bigger impact and wider onto our school community, and how we kind of manage those transitions in, and, you know, making sure that the preparations are there, that we as a school are ready to welcome, and that's one of our school values, is actually welcoming. But as it says, and then managing potential loss of children and friendships as well. In the last year, we've had 22 new children come in, and we've got 13 who have left already. So that's over a class of children who've kind of already experienced transitions in and out of school. The end of the year, I think we have 53 going out, including our 7s, and we've got over 40 coming in. So it's a massive churn of children coming in and going out. So when I was asked, and thank you very much to Skip Alliance for asking for us to share what we do an awful lot to raise awareness, to share kind of the activities that the children do, to celebrate them. And these are some of the things that we've been up to. Month of the Military Child has been a really big celebration for us for the last 2 years. It's been absolutely fantastic. But we've done other things such as working with Moravia, local flight organisation, History of Flight, to create posters for them. We've had health and wellbeing days where, you know, the Hive have come in, Forces Children Scotland have been, Pri's been in with us. So it's been really fantastic to be able to celebrate all the work that we do around raising the profile of children, to make sure that parents actually are aware as well, because as Carolyn said, it can be really challenging for families to actually let you know that they have a parent who's in the military. So we want to celebrate the children and have that positive approach for the families as well. But it very much is a team effort, as you can see there. And at the moment on the staff, we have 2 veterans, we have 3 veteran wives, we have a serving wife, and we have 4 what we would call scaly brats. 4 of us who have parents who were in the military. And as we said, it's a team effort very much from our entire staff. We all buy into supporting the children. And as we said, transition at Kinloss is unique. It absolutely has to be for every child who's coming in. And we've tried to make it as easy a process as possible for families, making sure there's key information on our school website, making sure that actually there's a step-by-step for joining the school, what it looks like, having videos to actually say, this is our school, these are our staff. And we do that every year because we have a bit of a turnover of staff. But it's very important for us that everybody's welcomed and it's easy as possible for families. We have worked really closely with our military support worker. We're absolutely thrilled that we have Kate, Mrs. Homer, who's our military support worker. We've been very, very fortunate to have funding from the Armed Forces Covenant Fund. She works incredibly closely with the new children that come into the school. She gets to know them. She's with them when they get their welcome certificate and assemblies. And sadly, she's with them when they leave as well. And she works very closely on the All About Me booklet because we wanted that information to be shared with the new school. We also have an information sheet on our website for families, which is purely about the child, nothing academic. Because what we found is often we have challenges when we break up from the end of the school year and schools in England are still in and we miss that cut-off point. So we really wanted something to be just about the child, so we'd have that information straight away before we get any kind of academic information, jotters or anything like that. So that's been really useful for us to have, just so we know what the children like and we've got that key information from them. We do make sure that everybody has time to speak to new school or previous schools, new schools. I remember doing video calls with a school in Cyprus at some very bizarre times to make sure that we had that sharing of information, which was really, really key for us. So there's a lot of work that goes into transitions with the school staff. We normally prioritise giving them time to get to know the child, whether they take them out of assembly or they have other time that we prioritise for them as well, to make sure that we're getting it right for every child who's transitioning in and out of the school. And transitions out, you know what they're like, they can be incredibly sad. We're always sad to see children going. Last thing I was going to talk about was kind of our partnership work. We've done a lot of partnership work with Action for Children, Forces Children Scotland. We have been working as well with the Army Welfare. They've been absolutely fantastic of providing a space for the children to go over and do work on the camp. And we're really thrilled that actually all of Kate, Mrs. Homer's work supporting the children, and she leads Seasons for Growth as well, absolutely phenomenally. Actually led to one of our children being recognised as Little Trooper of the Month. And for what he's been through and his journey, it was absolutely phenomenal to have that recognition for him. She normally works with children who come in on a one-to-one basis, some small groups, and we're really grateful because we have quite a big Fijian community, and she works really well with the girls. It really brought them out of their shells. They got to know other children, and it was really fantastic to kind of have that opportunity for them to talk. And they absolutely love her. We wrote, I've seen you've shared the welcome letter booklet. We've written new letters, and the amount of times the children said that Mrs. Homer was the best person in the world to support them was just fantastic to read. It was really amazing. So that's a very whistle-stop tour of what we do. I know Hannah will tell me there's lots I've missed, but we listen very, very closely to the children. We learn from what their experiences are. We are updating everything. We need it to be relevant, but we also know that situations change, circumstances change. There's an awful lot of change, so we need to make sure that we're focusing on that. We're very excited after a month of Military Child Celebration this year that the Kinloss Military Wives Choir are wanting to work with us. And so we're never such innocence around transitions as well. And that really has come from a team effort. And you can see all our military children on the picture there. And I think I'll finish with kind of the last bit. This is a quote from one of our teachers who said, "We're living and breathing this, supporting children from armed forces families. And it's a massive part of our teaching day." And that really encompasses everything that we do. It's almost a one in out almost every week. But the staff, as we said, they're fantastic. They're really amazing. They work incredibly hard to do that. And we have a really supportive culture of all the military families that we have in. So really big thank you from me for listening. Big thank you to Skip Alliance for inviting me to share this. It's been really fantastic. And to Kate, Mrs. Homer, and our fantastic staff at Kinloss Primary School. Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks, Rachel. That was a really helpful guide for all the work you're doing. It's a really comprehensive and thorough approach that you're obviously taking at school, and you can really tell that from the work that you're doing. And I can see also, I think you contributed to one of our case studies as well there with about transition there. So if anybody doesn't know, we've got a case study bank of 50 case studies of effective practice linked to our toolkit, which can be found on the Thriving Lives Toolkit. And we're very grateful. Thank you for providing all those case studies for us, and obviously shows all the work you've been doing. So thank you. I think we've got about 7 minutes time now before we need to go. So I don't know if anybody would like to ask any questions, open up some discussion with Caroline, Pri, or Rachel at all. Anything, any reflections or questions they would like to make? Lou.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually, it's for Pri, actually, she'll laugh because she'll go, oh no, what's coming? But actually, I wanted to take this opportunity on a public forum to say, well done, Pri. She's going to be on her way soon, and she is going to be hugely, hugely missed. She has done a phenomenal amount of work and has brought energy into Scotland and into Murray, and she has done a phenomenal. So I thought, I'll just take this public forum. She didn't know this was coming, so she thought it was going to probably be a tricky question, but I thought I wanted to just take this public forum to just say, well done, Pri, and you will be missed.
Oh, thank you very much, Lou. I was really, really worried you were going to ask me a tricky question. I was like, typical Lou. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And I've really enjoyed just working with, I guess, most of you that are on here that know me. It's been brilliant to see all these developments. And I know, so for those of you that aren't aware, I am moving on because Forces Life has moved me back to England. But that doesn't mean the Dandelion project is coming to an end. Somebody will be interviewed soon to take over. So just all the developments that I spoke about will continue if you want to continue following us on Facebook and our website. But just, yeah. Thank you, Lou. Thanks, Lou. It is right. Yeah, right. You've done a load of projects. I remember listening to you in the Oxford conference a couple of months ago, and you're going through everything and thinking, wow, that's a lot of stuff that you've done. So, Vicky, you've got a question, haven't you?
Yes, please, if that's okay. Rachel, I just wanted to ask you quickly, because obviously going through your presentation, you do so many things. If a school's just starting off on like their journey of supporting armed forces children, especially as the focus is on transitions today, what are like the key things you would say for a school that are just starting to like look at this area? What are the key things that you think should be those focuses to begin with, if you wanted to highlight certain things, just because, like I said, you do so much, so it'd be really good to know what like if you were a school starting out, what would you say were those key things to really help with those transitions? Oh, sorry, you're on mute still.
Sorry. For me, the key thing has got to be the families letting you know. So making sure that you've got something on your website or something that says, get in touch. We found that the welcome booklet, the letters from the children to reassure the other children coming into the school, that was one of the things that we found was really useful. Feedback from our children who come in and read that was really helpful. The same with the video. But it really depends. We very much, as Carolyn talked about earlier, it's that self-evaluation. We were really trying to work out, how do we do this? We had children coming from all over the world to our school, and we were trying to say, because actually there are 7 other primary schools in Forres where we are, and there's a bit of a, almost not bidding war, but we wanted to basically say we are, absolutely fantastic at doing this and sharing that information. But children being able, and we were trying to alleviate the worry and the fear from a lot of families, because you're moving to a new country, you're moving to a new area, you don't know anything like that, and we really wanted to reassure them that actually we're friendly, we're lovely, these are the teachers, see the pictures of them, see the videos, they're human, everything is great, and that was really important for us. So what I would say is look at that evaluation, how have transitions gone before, what is going to help you, and then work out, is it supporting the parents, is it supporting the children, is it supporting the staff, which area is going to get you the quick wins that Pri's talked about with her impacts. That for me would be really important for her. So I would go from there. But if anybody's stuck and they want to reach out, I'm more than happy to have that chat with them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Rachel, sorry, you're still on mute.
Sorry for my turn to do that. I think we've got time for any last reflections. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything before we go. Otherwise, we can have a nice prompt finish just before 5.
We just put up the slide with the evaluation form as well before
Oh,
we
yeah.
finish.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I'll do that, and I'll let Carolyn hand over to you, Karen, for your question or comment.
I was just going to comment that the 3 of us presenting today are all part of military families, either as a child, a spouse, or having a parent with a child. And I think that is such a positive aspect, because I know that what makes a difference are people and the commitment and the passion. And I think when you have lived a particular life, when you're involved in it, you bring your own life experiences, but you also are quite passionate about hearing about others. I know that others who are working in the area as well may not be part of an armed forces family, but they too have the passion. So I just want to compliment the energy that goes into nations and local authorities and schools in support of all the families. So really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn. And quickly, Rachel, I think you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to very quickly echo what Carolyn had said, because I don't know if this is what feeds my passion for making sure transitions are right, but we were at RAF Leeming and we were moving from primary to secondary, and my mum basically abandoned me in completely the wrong place. And I remember my first day of secondary school having to run down the road to try and catch the bus because she thought it was at the guard room, and it wasn't. It was somewhere completely different. So for me, it's that making sure we get it right and that the children are feeling happy and welcome. And I just want to echo what Carolyn said and what Lou said as well for Pri. She's done a phenomenal job with us. We're really going to miss her. It's been absolutely fantastic working with her, and it's great to see them all again. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Rachel. Thank you, everybody. We've come to 5 p.m, so it's a good time to end. But I'd just like to, before we go, firstly thank Carolyn and Pri and Rachel for talking to us today and spending the time to talk about that kind of national, local authority and school context. I found that really helpful. Having that structure was really useful. So I hope that was useful to others as well. If you are able to, we really appreciate it if you could tell us how useful or how we could improve these sessions. We hope they are kind of that value to people, but please complete the evaluation form if you can, just to let us know. And I think we've got more webinars coming up, Vicky, haven't we? So hopefully if you found this useful, there will be more webinars covering more aspects linked to our Thriving Lives Toolkit and other kind of pertinent topics related to students and young people from armed forces families. So do kind of stay in touch with us, and we'll kind of let you know as and when those webinars come up. But thanks again, everybody, today. Really appreciate your contributions and time, and we hope to work with you again on a future event.
Oh, one quick shout out before we go is our conference. So we have the Skip Alliance conference in Glasgow in November. I will put the link in this chat in a second, so that will pop up for those of you that are here today. So it'd be great to see as many people there as possible, especially as we're in Scotland. For those of you that are contributing, obviously from Scotland, I know some schools here are from Scotland as well and local authority. So it'd be great to see people from all over the UK come into the conference, because it is one of the few that is really focused on young people and children from armed forces families. So to get more people there would be absolutely brilliant. So I will pop the link in a minute as well.
Thanks, Vicky. Brilliant. Thanks, everybody, and hope you all have a lovely evening. And thanks again for coming along today.
Thank you. I think we were hoping that Carolyn, Pri and Rachel, if we could just stay on for 2 minutes, if that's okay, just to wrap up and then say what we're going to pop online afterwards. Thank you so much.
Turn off the recording now.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I will obviously chop and change the recording to my last month. Honestly, I had so many technical issues. I had to chop so many bits out to try and make it look really smooth, because I couldn't let people in. I couldn't share my screen. I literally couldn't do anything. So I will, when I edit the recording, I will cut off bits and make it seamless. Or try my best.
Yeah, no one needs to know the slide drama that Carolyn and I had.
Why it works it constantly happens. It works in practice and prep, and then I get on there and
yeah,
okay.
it's always the same. Yeah, I've done it when I've played videos, practiced it before, then done it on the thing, and then there's no sound. It's just, I think technology is just out to get us. Thank you so much for coming along and sharing. So what the kind of current format is after the session, like I said, I'll go in and I'll edit the video to make it as seamless as I can. And then we also we also share the slides as well, so then people can access the slides if that's okay. So if there's anything that if you did want to edit anything on the slides or anything like that, you're more than welcome to send through revised copies. And I did think as well, Rachel, because I started putting up some of the links for the About Me, we could actually add those as resources as well. So if you've got like sections on websites or anything like that, we can put those as extra little signpost links as well, to highlight all the resources. Because I know you had lots of different things as well you were signposting, so we could all add those as like separate little links as well, so it's really easy to navigate for the people coming along. Because we do get quite a lot of people look at them post event because they weren't able to make it to the actual time and date. And I'm more than happy if it's helpful for you to share numbers like in a month or a couple of months time. If it's helpful for you to know the engagement with it, I can say how many people have gone on and looked at the content and things like that. If it's helpful, obviously I don't need to if it's not helpful, but if it is helpful for you in your engagement numbers, I know sometimes it can be really good to see if people are actually looking at the content and at the detail of what's been added in there.
Victoria, is there a cut-off date that you want kind of revised slides by?
Well, I try and get it online by at least like this time next week. So if ideally by the end of this week, if there's any tweaks you want making, then I've got this week to do the edits to the video, then I'll try and make it live by next Monday, ideally.
Brilliant.
And then we always do a post on social media to say this is now online. We do it as like a news article, so you're more than welcome to obviously share that as well, and we'll link you in to say that you've contributed, and we can then, like I said, add any extra links, any slide additions and things like that. We can make sure it's the newest version on the website.
Brilliant.
It's fab. Vicky, I'm happy for you to use the slides I sent you. I'll just send you links on top of that as well. Feel free to tag me in LinkedIn as well, just to help me get a job. That'd be great. Thank you.
Of course I can.
I know Rachel don't.
When you are
They'll snap you up. They will snap you up, darling.
You
they
will.
Really will.
Yeah.
I know. We're moving into our new house on the 7th of July.
Oh,
have you actually got it all sorted now? Because last time we spoke, it was a bit of a, I don't know what's happening.
A bit of a palaver, typical Forces life, isn't it? Just need to get a nursery place. Just need nurseries to reply to me. That'll be good. And then get a job, and then it's all good.
So one of those things that you've just got to call them until they actually, get back to you. And
it's when I say, hi, it's Priyanka, and they're like, oh.
We've had 6 emails from you already. We will get back to you. Yeah. You've got to do sometimes.
Now, or I'll keep emailing. That's what you want to say.
Basically. But Rachel, I'm just blown away. Everyone will agree, but just blown away with what you and your school do. I'm always just in awe. And Kate, your PSW, she's just phenomenal. And when we were in recently with Never Such Innocence, it was just when Katie, the CEO, was like, right, we're going to come back and we're going to do something. We're going to do a song or something about transition, because the turnaround in your school's just
it's absolutely, it's crazy. It really is. I was getting the figures for today, and it's almost been 1 in, 1 out every week.
Wow.
So I'm just back to work after my operation, and I'm seeing kids in the corridor, and I'm thinking, nope, don't know who you are. You'll have to get to know these people. So but we were. The work they did and that with Never Such Innocence is absolutely fantastic. And I think the Military Wives Choir as well, wanting to sing with them, because I was really sad to miss that because they did a fantastic job. They always do, but really moving as well. So really positive.
Have you found is that increasing, the transitions in and out? I think you said that, Joy, is it steadily going up as well?
No, I don't know. Well, Pri will know about this, but what we're seeing actually is quite a few of the cuts that we've had recently to the bus service, to after school childcare, is really making it quite difficult. And I believe Kinloss has now been identified as an isolated posting. So there's an awful lot of single accommodation that has gone up, and we're seeing actually the number of kids going out is greater than the number of kids coming in. Yeah. But what I mentioned it earlier about, you know, almost that bidding bit, we've got families who are coming in to see us, and then, well, we can't be too long with you because we've got other schools to go and visit as well. It's okay. So yeah, it's a shame. I don't know what will happen with it, but we'll just keep doing the fab job that the staff team do, because they are amazing. They really are. I'm pretty, you know that they're fantastic. They didn't need me. They were fine while I was off. So, you know, it's all good. It's all good.
I guess, like you said, a lot of it's to do with logistics, isn't it? And getting their children to the school. It's not necessarily the schools that they really want. It's what works for life. Family life.
Yeah.
And I know everyone wants. Oh, sorry. So I was going to
we're very rural up here, aren't we? So it's quite difficult. Sorry, Priyanka.
Yeah, and I know I'm not going to keep you too long on a Monday evening, but I'm really grateful that Rachel, Carolyn and I had an opportunity to kind of present together just to show how connected we are in Scotland. And I think that's just a real highlight, and I'm hoping that's something that the conference also mentions as well, and spotlights, because it's just brilliant that, Carolyn, you're able to have this network and feed in. And I had an email recently from somebody from that network, Carolyn, asking a bit about what I presented on in a previous network meeting, and I just thought, how lovely is that we're all just able to email back and forth and share that good practice. So
did you share the link for the conference in the chat?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll share that in a second.
Perfect.
And then I'll also make sure that with the information that goes out, we'll start adding it into that as well, because hopefully we did see that when we went to Wales, we had a lot more schools and like people from the sector within Wales that came. So hopefully it'll be the same for Scotland, that people in that local area will be more inclined to come because it is so local. So
say local. It's really not.
It's not local.
It's not.
It's quite far. It's like a 4.5 hour journey for us.
More local than what it would be if it was down in the south.
In Cardiff. That was a tricky one.
That was really difficult. I know last year was virtually impossible from Scotland to Cardiff. It was a bit of a nightmare, wasn't it?
The Dandelion project is going to pay for a few tickets, Rachel.
Right, okay.
So we'll arrange that, because we want schools to pop along. And I don't know if it was you, Vicky, that mentioned that Wales did something similar.
Millie paid for 10 tickets. I
think that sounds great, because I was going to say about actually getting it in the diary and paying for it, that schools do need to know now if they're going to allocate something, because the start of the year, August, is too late even for a November conference. So
it's already on our website, but I will put the link in on this chat, so anyone who came today will be able to access it from there. But it is already all pushed out, but obviously we'll keep plugging it as much as we can and keep promoting it on any channels, and obviously with the hubs as well, we'll try and get the hubs to push it out to their networks to try and get maximum attendance as well.
I think it would be helpful if the Scotland knows more about what you're planning for the conference. You know, because there is a sense if people are asking us or getting in touch, they're going to expect us to know. So the more you can keep us informed, the more useful that'll be.
And then we've got the meeting, haven't we? Next
Friday?
week or two, the conference meeting. So I can go through and share the agenda and of what we've got so far and the kind of format that we have then, and then we can share.
Who's at that conference meeting, Victoria?
I'm sure you're included on the invite. It was. Do you remember in the Scotland hub meeting?
Well, I did sign up, but I didn't see anything. So it's for the 30th. I'll take another look if I've missed that.
I'm looking now.
On the 30th.
Apologies, I'm going to have to run off just because I've got to go and pick up children. But thanks ever so much for doing the session.
Thanks, Rachel.
Really, really great.
Hi, Rachel.
Thank you.
Good luck, Pri, as well on your move.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, you're on the invite list. I've just put it up now.
Okay.
Unless actually, you know what? Looking at this email address I've been given on the list, I don't think this is right. I've got adesento@forceschildren'seducation.onmicrosoft.com. That's not right, is it?
No. So if you use the one we've been using,
I'm literally doing it now. I wonder why that one's different. I've just sent it now, so you should have.
Super.
Yeah, that address is. Now I'm looking at it. The email address doesn't look correct, so it should pop through now.
Super. Thank you. Because I'd like to, if I can add to it, be super.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Like I said, once I've done the recording, I can send it to you. And then if there's anything you'd rather be cut out, added in. I'll do my best. I'm not. I can't do everything. I'll do my best because it does.
Can you not put a filter on my face?
Can you,
Missy?
I was going
Like,
to
can
say,
you not do things like this? Come on.
Well, we can have some lashes. We can a bit
Perfect.
lippy. Yeah, it will. I'll do my best. It is. I always find when I'm doing them, they just buffer and buffer when you're trying to cut bits out. It's not the easiest thing to do, but I will cut and edit as best as I can.
I'm happy
Thank
not
you.
to review it. I'm
Okay.
just speaking from, I'm just happy for you to just put up.
Perfect. Thank you. But like I said, if there's anything you want changing or anything, if you could get to me by the end of this week, ideally, so then I can do it on Monday.
Yep,
Super.
okay.
No
Right,
worries.
take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.
Great to see you all.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.